Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Core Racing Network. Tonight, the Chop Shop GT Series, presented by Fuego Paints, heads to Virginia International Raceway for round 3 of their season. And this is another one that's just kind of one of those unique tracks that's out there. It's one that's certainly not touched that often on iRacing, by iRacing itself or leagues itself. We've seen it maybe a little bit. It was last year in the Core GT Series. These guys are going to be taking 1 hour here on the track tonight. It's to me, it reminds me of a couple different tracks, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Carl Hamwork here in the booth, joined by Mark Thomas. And Mark, Virginia International Raceway here tonight, and it looks like the man that dominated the first 2 weeks, it took him a little bit, but he's back on top.
Yeah. It was funny because we were talking about that not more than 2 seconds ago, I believe. We were saying how Mr. Pierce didn't seem to be as as blistering form as he was the other week. And lo and behold, just to prove us wrong, he goes and puts it right ahead at top in practice. That's disgusting. How dare you, James? Don't do that again.
So, to me, Mark, this kind of, it's obviously a unique track. You look at the layout, very unique looking track, but it's got maybe a little bit of Mid-Ohio in it. Maybe for you, maybe a little bit of Snetterton or even Donington, just kind of how it goes, flows through here. So what does Virginia, kind of remind you of, and how is it unique to you?
Yeah, it's got a little bit of Donny in there, a little bit of Alton Park, I would say. It's got those flowing sections where you need to be able to transition the car from one side to the other. Left hook, snake particularly. 4, 5, 6 and 6A. They're quite tricky. You need to be able to transition the car from one curb to another, which reminds me a little bit of Alton. You've got 7, 8, 9, which is that really fast section where it's right, left, right. And then as you come up over South Bend into Oak Tree, you need to get your braking done early because you come over the brow, you can't really see where the runoff section, how far you can pull the car over to the right as you come through South. And you kind of need to be able to keep the speed up through there. You've got the massive long back straight. That's just huge. And then through 14 and a 14A, it's roller coaster, I believe. A big dip down into 15. A tricky little corner that it drops away from you. You need to put in lead to have a lot of lean on the car. You need to be able to trust those tires, get a lot of weight over the front end to get that thing to turn in. And then you've got I think it's Hog. Can't think.
Hog Pen.
I think it.
Yep.
That's it. Yeah, Hog Pen. Again, it doesn't look too tricky, but it's crucial to get the run off there as you come onto the front straight, because then you've got your big opportunity to do your passing before you go into one. There's a couple of good overtaking spots. There's as you come into NASCAR, if you can get a lot of people take a very different line into NASCAR because it's one of those triple apex. You come out wide, take a middle, take an early apex if you want the run. And then as you come into left hook, you then have to cut back in to take that second apex again. Is it, as you say, not my favourite track. I've not driven a great deal here. It's a tough track to get down, hard, very difficult to get good speed through here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the track, again, just a little bit different than anything else you've seen. But, most tracks just straight up number their corners, and that's it. I mean, whether it's 6 corners or whether it's 150 some corners, like the Nürburgring Nordschleife. But not often you see corners that are labeled 5, 5A, 6, 6A, 14, 14A, 17, 17A. It's not something you see just like, well, this is part of 17, but it's like the next corner. But let alone some of the names. I mean, Horseshoe, okay. We've got road courses that have a horseshoe in it. South Bend, okay, I can buy that. Oak is where you start losing me. I mean, to me, that sounds like a golf course that has multiple 18 holes, and this is the Oak course right here. left hook. I mean, we're not boxing, so not sure what's going on there.
Yeah.
NASCAR bend. This is a road course, boys. Snake certainly looks like a snake. I mean, that thing is rolling back and forth. And speaking of rolling, you got roller coaster, like you mentioned, and it drives like a roller coaster, up and around and down. I mean, we had a corkscrew, 2 weeks ago. This thing almost kind of drives like a corkscrew right there. And then, of course, like you said, hog pen to finish this thing off. So just, a little different atmosphere out here at Virginia International Raceway. But these guys are out here qualifying right now. We'll bring up the current qualifying results, which is, I don't think going to be much at all, as they just started over here qualifying. And, nothing in the books quite yet. But it's going to be very interesting to see these guys out here. Again, a newer, well, maybe not a newer track, but a track that doesn't get touched too often. So how many people are going to keep it on track, I think, is the question. This is a place where it's really wide when you get off the track. So you're not going to find the barriers too quickly, other than, turns like turn 1 at Horseshoe there. There's certainly a couple spots where you can grab the wall pretty easily, but a lot of places, I mean, you're taking a look at roller coaster right there. It's a lot of pasture that you can slide off into, which is good and bad. Because if you slide off, your car's not going to be damaged, but it's going to take a half hour of you working your way back to the track.
Well, I kind of disagree, because a lot of the corners are grass. There's no runoff. It goes track, grass, and the grass on iRacing is typically slicker than ice. So you do come off and you touch grass. The car's not stopping. It just, no matter what you do, you can brake, turn the wheel, shift down. The car's just going straight on. So you will eventually end up in a barrier, and it's a slow, torturous process. As you can see the barrier coming and can do nothing to stop it from wiping your car out.
Again, these guys out here for practice right now, or not for practice, for qualifying, but it's going to take a little bit to even get some times on the board, as these guys are a little bit over 2 minutes on their lap times. But good sized field out here once again, as it looks like we're just about pushing 20 drivers out there. But it's really kind of all about James Pierce so far this season. He's got 2 races in the books, 2 wins in the books, and obviously the first win locked him into the playoffs already. But just some added insurance points and playoff bonus points for the second win last week at Spa. And it didn't look like it was to be. It looked like it was going to be a little bit tougher of a race once he got towards the front. He didn't just, he made it through most of the field right away, but then it seemed like it steadied off a little bit. But certainly some errors by other drivers. He was able to grab the lead and pretty much checked out from there.
Well, this is going to be the other thing, is how difficult is it going to be for everybody to keep it on track, including Mr. Pierce. It only takes that one mistake around here, and as you said, it takes an awful long time to get back onto the track, if you can get back onto the track. Being clean, I think being a little patient, just trying to keep the car on the track is probably going to be more important than overall outright speed. You may be able to get that super fast one lap in, but being able to do consistent good laps, I think, is going to be much more of a benefit here.
Look now at the standings up here on the board, and as you see right there, James Pierce clearly on top of the boards, but David Steiner in second place with 104 points. And you got Nathan Biggert, who has showed some speed out here today in practice. We'll see how he does in qualifying. Michael Strickland, Mark Odell rounding out your top 5. Then you got Colby Hartung, John Hammond, Mark Rotkin, Philip Caffrey, who has shown some speed out here, as well as has Andrew Payne there rounding out your top 10. Then you got Michael McCaffrey and Wesley Strait that are going to be rounding out your 12-car field as it would stand right now for the playoffs. But still a good distance into the future yet to worry about that. But again, we are on race number 3 here for these guys, and another hour-long race, as right now we have Andrew Payne on top of the boards. Michael Caffrey is the Caffrey that is in second right now. And we've seen a lot of contenders last week for sure to kind of pop their names up there on the boards, but Spa just kind of it can reach out and bite you. You know, as soon as you get comfortable, it can just snap, and that's what the car can do. And it can be a long road back. But we've seen some good good recovery drives last week. Yeah,
I think another thing about this place is we just see Wesley taken to the grass. One of the other things that we're going to see here, rather than at Spa, is I don't think we're going to have that big one guy takes off and leaves the rest of the field behind. I don't think that's going to happen here. I don't think this is one of those tracks where you can make that, you know, biblical break and just escape from the rest of the pack. Again, maybe it's because it's one of those tracks that hasn't or isn't used more often, so not that many people know it that well to be able to drive away from the rest of the field. But also the nature of the track, I don't think it allows one guy to have a performance advantage, because you have the big long straights where the sleeker cars that tend to have a bit more performance in a straight line tend to pull away. But then you've got those tricky little S sections and you know, Snake and, you know, 4, 5A, 6 and 6A, and that balances that out, because then you have the cars that have got that more neutral balance can push through there.
You're taking a look right here. This is the second set of S turns that they're going to go through here on the track, and that is ending with South Bend, and now heading into the double right-hander right here. That is Oak, as they come out of turn number 12 there. Wesley Straight does. Yeah, all that being said, Mark, I can actually see the opposite. If somebody took the time to get on here and get the practice in and get that comfortability with the track, I think that will give them a substantial advantage over the field, because I think a lot of these guys could very well struggle out here tonight, not having too much familiarity with the track layout and everything like that. And if they can be decently fast and consistently stay on the track, I think that leads to certainly a possibility of somebody breaking away, because it's one of those tracks where it's not exactly that easy to follow somebody. I mean, you can certainly stay there with the draft, but following somebody through some of these fast-flowing sections, it's hard enough to try and find your braking points, your turning points on some of these corners while you're out there by yourself. And then when you're looking at somebody right in front of you, sometimes you could, you know, miss that braking point, or you could miss that little mark on the road or the tree that you're constantly looking at to, you know, for your braking point. It can just, you know, take that focus away a little bit, and before you know it, you're off in the grass.
Yeah, that was one thing I was going to ask you. There's not a great deal of marker boards, what I like to call marker boards, on the sides of the track saying, you know, this is where you should be, well, not saying this is where you should be braking, but to give you a reference point as to where you should be braking. So some of the braking points here are quite tricky. You have to have a mental reference point. You have to say, oh, where the dirt starts on this section of the curb is where I need to start my braking point, or where the first set of yellow and green curbs start is where I need to start to turn in, and all the rest. There's not a great deal of those out there to give you a reference point to be able to make your turn, or to be able to give you a fixed point on the racetrack so that you can turn in. So yeah, I can see your point. Track knowledge might be the key here. Yeah,
my my problem with a lot of these kind of tracks that don't have the markers is I find a shadow. I find a shadow that I like breaking out, or that's my turn in point. Problem is, unless it's clear skies, that shadow's not going to be there the entire time. And I've dealt with that before. I'm like, okay, well, this is right about where that shadow is. I got to remember where it is now and try and brake. And you know, with a track like this, yeah, there's plenty of trees, but the trees are kind of far away from the track, so I don't think I'd have the shadows here. But we are now complete with qualifying. We'll bring up our qualifying results and our starting order here for tonight's race. And on the pole, it is going to be Andrew Payne with a 147.297, but half a second back is Michael Strickland in second. Michael Caffrey, David Steiner making up row number 2. Row 3 is Cameron DeRue, Mark Odell. Row 4 is losing here a second. Row 4 is going to be Philip Caffrey and Wesley Strait. Row 5, Colby Hartung and Mark Rockin rounding out your top 10. Joseph Grzyalva in 11th, Robert Church in 12th, Nathan Biggards, James Pierce, Chris Roberge, Stephen Salas, Jerry Culver, and Dominique Ford, all not setting times, and that will round out your 18-car field. So I think there's two things that I wish we could do here. First thing would be I'd love if we could have some kind of counter, that you know, an off-track counter, to see how many times these guys go off track, because I feel like that could you know, rake in quite a lot of numbers. But I think the other thing is we need to get some odds on how many laps Joseph Grzyalva completes in this race. He's been bitten by the ugly bug these first couple races, and Grzyalva, one of the sponsors here with Fuego Paints, the primary sponsor here for the Chop Shop GT Series, and has not had a good first couple races. So, Mark, I'm going to ask you, over under, where are you setting the over under on for Grzyalva, or do you think he finally gets a race in here, he finally gets the distance?
He's going to make it. He's going to make it all the way. I've got faith. I will not commentators curse that man. He's going to make it to the end, and he's going to show us all exactly what it's all about. That's what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I like to see. For everybody out there, thank you for tuning in to the broadcast, and if you haven't done so yet, please make sure you like and subscribe. Help these guys out. Help them get their get their league out there. It's a really good GT series. But they have plenty of other series that they got going on here in Chop Shop. Want to send a thank you out there to the sponsor here for the series, Fuego Paints, and also some of the league sponsors in Track Racer, W Energy, and Admin Box. These guys are lined up and pacing right now around for the first time here. It's going to be one time around, and we're going to get this thing fired off, as again is going to be Andrew Payne and Michael Strickland on the front row for this one. And 1 hour again is the distance.
Tricky little outlap. This seems to take forever. You're itching, you're ready to go, you want to try and get a little bit of heat in those tyres, and that big long old back straight is just calling your temps off. Please let me go, please just pull in, pace car, let me go. I need some heat in those tyres, because you got a couple of real big braking zones as soon as that pace car pulls in, and you want to be going.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't understand how iRacing decides where it's going to be a quarter mile warm-up lap and where it's going to be a full length warm-up lap. You know, it seems like it's different at every track, but this one is complete. Pace car is in, and it's in the hands of Barney, the flag man. And see, a little bit further down the straightaway is where the green flag is set, but we are already green flag racing here, as a great jump here by Andrew Payne. And we are racing here at Virginia International Raceway as these guys head into turn one the first time. Good drive through for Andrew Payne. Michael Caffrey going to fall into second. Michael Strickland and David Steiner, your top four. Cameron DeRue out your top five.
Yeah, nice first couple of corners. Everybody seems to be keeping their line. They're falling in a single file. They're just trying to work out where they've got to go, who's quick, who's not quick. It's a tricky little situation this right now, especially the first couple of laps. You don't want to let the two leaders go, who just seem to have decided that they don't want to be with the rest of the pack and they are out of here. Interesting that the Porsche seem to make really good headway, but it's good to see a mix of cars up the front. Two Porsches, Ferrari, BMW, Mercedes, another Porsche.
Yeah, these first two checked out to about a 1 second lead, but as soon as they hit that double corner there at Oak, the rest of the field reels them in a little bit, but it is Payne followed by Caffrey, and then Strickland starting to reel these guys in here a bit. James Pierce already up to 10th position, up 4 spots here on the start. But everybody getting away pretty cleanly here. Don't see too many issues here on the start of the race, and that's definitely the way you want to start. But unless I'm seeing something wrong here, and I don't want to say it, and I don't want to switch over to him, but it was showing him a lap down. I was afraid to click on it because I thought I seen his number out there, and I thought I seen him driving around, but Joseph Rojava is still in the race, ladies and gentlemen, and it hasn't happened too often here, but he will complete a lap here on the season. Just got to get through a little bit of a kink here, and yes, a 99 across the line. So he's made it 1 lap so far, Mark. So far your prediction is still on pace.
I told you. He's going to outlast everybody. He's on a fuel stretch. That's what it is. He's not going to pit. He's going to run the whole race on that single tank. That's the plan.
He's already got the engine turned down. Yep, that's not a bad move.
The man's a legend. That's what's going to happen.
I'll tell you what, these Porsches seem like they handle the S-curves very well compared to everybody else, but the Ferrari of Strickland and even the BMW of Steiner not letting them go at all, and we got a 4-car breakaway at the front as those 4 have broken away from 5th place Mark Odell, and he's even broken away a little bit from Philip Caffrey there in 6th.
Yeah, Pierce trying to work his way back up through the field into 7th, but yeah, these 4, the Beamer's just absolutely chipping.
Yeah, Steiner making short work of Michael Strickland as he moves himself into 3rd position now. Take a look back in the pack, and you already see the other Porsche that we've been watching for most of this season so far. That is James Pierce making his way up through the field pretty handily as he is now up into 6th position, having passed 8 drivers so far as he started again back in 14th, but Nathan Biggert right behind him as well, as is Wesley Straits, as those guys are going to do battle into turn number 1, and a little bit of a race here. A little bit of a race here with Nathan Biggert as he's trying to stay right there with James Pierce.
Outbraked himself a little, just a fraction. It looked like he was going a little wide coming into 1.
Take a good look at Snake right there. Of the easier of the 2 sets of S turns, and then the second S turn here where you see it goes up and over a bend, and you got to have some cojones to keep it wide open through here. And then right here, yeah, a bit of a bend, and Biggert does not take it the way it is intended. Loses it a bit, trying to get it woed up, trying to get it back on track, and that is a very handy save there for the 19. It's going to be a little angry, a little bit dirty on the tires coming out of there, so he may lose yet another position, but falling back to 9th right now could have been a heck of a lot worse.
Yeah, as we were talking about, once those cars get on the grass, it's so slippery, it's so slick, you just can't do anything about it. It's yeah, I mean, even at a relatively slow speed like that, Carver just demonstrating the fact that once these cars start to get even just a little bit out of control, it's so difficult to keep them going in the direction that you want to, not alone get it back on track.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we've talked about multiple times. It kind of depends on where the engine is. You know, some cars you will struggle with front end grip, and it just seems like all it wants to do is push. All it wants to do is push. And then you get other cars where it wants to get rear happy extremely easily, which, you know, it plays into to different drivers' hands. Some guys just like a nice car that they can, you know, drive nice and smoothly, and they'll want that a little bit tighter of a car. Some guys will like it that it feels like that back end is going to come out there a little bit, and they feel like it helps them rotate through the car. And that's kind of what makes these GT races, whether it's GT3, GTE, you know, it makes them interesting because everybody's got their own kind of style, and in a series that's a fixed series, you can still almost kind of, you know, pick your setup of choice.
Yeah, yeah, very true. I wasn't a big Porsche fan until I drove this iteration. It's actually quite nice to drive. It has a lot more front end grip than the old set did. But I mean, I'm still, and I know that it's the old school, and everybody tends to like the Mercedes over the BMW. But I like the balance of the BMW. I like the brakes of the BMW. It's very neutral. It's easy to drive.
Yeah, it's kind of where the Mercedes goes for me too. Like if I want a car that I just feel is going to be planted, it's not going to be too edgy. It's just going to be one that kind of feels like it's connected to the track. It's the Mercedes for me. I don't feel like it's the fastest by any means. I definitely don't feel like it's the one that rotates through the corners the best. But if I want one that just kind of feels like it's it's there, it's stuck, you almost kind of feel the downforce. Maybe more so you're feeling the weight of the car, because it feels like it's about a ton heavier than every other car that's out there, and it drives a bit boaty sometimes. But yeah, I mean that's the one that kind of sticks down there. And then you go to the opposite end of the spectrum, and for me it's the Ferrari.
Yeah, the Ferrari's always been, it's always been a little, well, I call it edgy, but it seems to be, it's one of those cars where you reach a certain point, everything's nice, it feels nicely balanced, it feels a little poised, and then maybe the tyres get like 1 or 2 degrees, just a little over tempo, you brake just a little too deep, and it wants to kill you.
Speaking of killing each other right there, almost 3 wide into the double left-hander. And James Pierce says thank you very much and takes a little 2-for-1 action. Normally pay double for that, Mark, but he is going to move himself into 4th place. As up front, it is now McCaffrey and Steiner, as we take a look back and see what exactly happened to Andrew Payne, as he was in the lead, but takes a little trip off into the grass. And again, the grass isn't going to kill you, damage-wise, but it's going to kill you time-wise. And you see that is why he slid back into 3rd. And now he's going to have his hands full with James Pierce behind him.
And I think Strickland must have come off somewhere as well, because he was running 4th at one point, and now he's running a little further back.
Well, this is the incident that we've seen right there, as they almost went 3 wide in the corner. We'll take a look at it one more time, and yeah, coming back on track as Pierce is diving to the inside of Mark O'Dell, and yeah, very, very tight action right there. And I'm gonna go back live right now, because again, I'm afraid to do it. But we got to take a look at what happened here to Mr. Grajala, because we've had it happen before, Mark, that it says somebody crashed and all it was is a little spin. So I'm going to hold my breath here, and okay, all right, we're still safe. The cars get around him, and Grajala is still...
No crash. No crash. That wasn't a crash. That wasn't a crash.
After further review?
Yeah. No crash.
All right. A little bit of an off for David Steiner here, as he was right on the back bumper looking for the lead here, and just had to grab a little bit extra brake right there, and you see him take a trip through the grass. But all in all, not going to lose too much time, too much ground here to your leader, Michael Caffrey.
I think he's got pace in that car. I think he's got enough pace to pull that back, as long as it doesn't... see, now this is one of those tricky situations. You know that you were there, you know that you've got the speed, you felt like you had the move done, and then it just goes a little wrong, and then you start driving with a little more venom, because you want that place back. You know, I deserve it, I was there, I had the move done. And as easy as that is, and as nice as that sounds, you can't do that. You don't want to do that. You want to resettle yourself. You want to try and re-find your groove again, because it's only when you start not overly driving the car that the lap time comes to you, and then you can start closing that gap back up again.
So, Mark, weren't you talking about how diverse the top half of this field was about maybe
I'm
5
just
or so
saying
minutes
it,
ago?
Carl.
Yeah, and not so much anymore, as 5 of the top 7 are Porsches, and those are all the Porsches in the field. They have found their way to the front, and Nathan Biggert, the furthest one back, he's up 6 spots from the start. James Pierce right here behind Andrew Payne is up 10 spots. They got a lap car, and they got little Tasty right there coming through.
But second
Southland
place is a
there.
BMW. The second place is a BMW.
All right, I'll let you have that. And he's certainly been a fast BMW here tonight, as once again David Steiner has got Caffrey in his sights, and he is within a second again, reeling in that 77 Porsche.
Yeah, Steiner looks like he has got an awful lot of pace here. It doesn't look too fussy either. It doesn't look like he's chucking the car around, too hard. It looks, relatively smooth. He's using the curbs wisely. He's not, it doesn't look like he's overdriving that car, which is only going to help his tyre situation. It's not going to be too much heat. As long as he keeps his head and he tries to keep aware of the situation around him and doesn't get too flustered by the cloth behind him. And was that Pierce I saw going around the outside of Andrew Payne? Or trying to go around the outside of Andrew Payne?
Yeah, it looks like he has made the pass. We'll take a look at that right here, and we'll start it as it was side by side going into turn number 1 here. Makes the pass briefly on the outside, but Andrew Payne fighting back on that inside, but now Pierce has the inside for the next few corners, and he is going to get it done and move himself into 3rd position. And again, already very close to the front, but Steiner has now officially reeled back in Mr. Caffrey, and looks like a pretty good exit out of the corner there for Caffrey. He's going to keep him far enough away down this backstretch to keep the lead for the time being. Take a look back in the field a little bit, and Michael Strickland is starting to fall back, and we'll show you another incident here as he was up there in, I believe, a 2nd or 3rd place in the beginning of this race, but another mistake here going through the NASCAR bend, and very good job by the drivers behind him avoiding him, because that was not exactly an ideal place to be parked sideways, but that is going to move him back into 10th position right now.
And that was just one of those situations we were talking about with the Ferrari. Everything seems so good and the car feels so great, and then all of a sudden, just through what seems like no fault of your own, it'll just want to over-rotate on you, and yeah, typical. It's a Ferrari. It's just, they love it.
Well, at least it's a Ferrari that's still running at the end of the race. It hasn't had any engine issues yet, I'm sure the Tifosi won't want to hear that. Hopefully they're not listening to the broadcast here, but they certainly did a little bit better in the brain farting here, the Le Mans. Certainly a little bit better showing there.
Yeah, they were epic in Le Mans. I mean, they were class of the field. I mean, Toyota had a little bit of a moan. There's a whole different story about that in Le Mans, which never ceased to make me laugh. It was just, they reminded me a little bit of Mercedes and Red Bull. Toyota. Every little thing that Ferrari did, they're not allowed to do that. It's against the rules. It just made me laugh.
So I think he's seen right there a little bit of what Mark was talking about earlier, as Steiner was starting to get closer and closer to Caffrey and just pushing a little bit too hard, going through Oak, pushing a little bit too wide, had to grab a little break on the exit, and it cost him probably 0.2 of a second down the backstretch when he should have been gaining 2 to 0.4 of a second in the slipstream. Yeah. And that just brought him right back into the zone of James Pierce, who has reeled these guys in. Pierce has the fastest lap on the track right now with a 147.17, and that is a good, actually, check that, as you see right there, the purple showing that is a new fastest lap of the race with a 147.09, and that is nearly a half a second faster than the second fastest lap, which is held right now by David Steiner, the man right in front of him, with a 147.51. So these guys right now about you know, a quarter of the way through their fuel cycle, I believe, and it's gonna kind of be at that turning point for some of these cars. You know, again, we talk about how the handling feels on these cars. Just like where the engine is, so goes where the fuel tank is, and you really you feel the fuel burning off of these cars a lot of times.
Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. Very well made. Now the fuel load's going to start coming down. They're probably about half a tank right now. The handling and the transitioning of the car is going to change slightly. So now we're going to see who's actually been holding onto those tyres, who's been pushing a little too hard, and who's got some tyre left. Because now the car lightens up, you can get a little bit more. You can get a little bit more push out of a corner. You can brake just that fraction just a little later because you're not trying to rotate all of that weight. You're not trying to stop that such a heavy car. So this is going to be an interesting little section now. We're going to see who's got, well, I'll say who's got the best tyres, but who's been holding on to those tyres for just that a little longer.
Well, certainly Pierce is not doing anything wrong with his tires right now as he's cruising up through the field. Takes a little bit of a fake look into turn one on the inside, going to fall back in line, but these top three have concertinaed themselves back together, and it is only less than a second covering the top three right now, 0.9 covering your top three spots. So we've got a bit of a battle brewing here, 18 and a half minutes into this race. Andrew Payne trying to hang on to this field of three as he's back there in fourth all by himself. Then you got to look another 7 seconds back to the next position with Nathan Biggert as he's moved himself into fifth. So two big movers here in this race. Obviously James Pierce being in third, but Nathan Biggert starting back there in 13th, one spot actually ahead of James Pierce, but he's moved his way through the field as well. And again, now finds himself in fifth place, and he's certainly all by himself as well.
I'm not sure I'd be too upset about that. I've not got no pressure. I can just focus on getting my lap times in. I don't have to worry about people trying to, shove make a lunge on me or anything like that. I can just settle into my groove, which is something that we were talking about last week, Carl, was, where would you rather be and how do you like to run your race? Do you want to be up front? Do you want to have all of the pressure and trying to pull those laps in and trying to pass those other cars, or do you just want to settle into your groove and see how things pan out?
Yeah, to me, I need that rabbit. Whether that rabbit is another car in front of me, or whether that rabbit is that next lap time. It helps me focus on the longer races, on those endurance races, because it can get a little monotonous in both a good and a bad way, and you can kind of fall into what I consider a lazy groove. You can you feel like, okay, you got this, and just lap after lap, and ho hum, and it just takes one little mistake and your entire race is over, as it's getting a little racy here for second right now. Steiner holding on to the spot right now, but now they're going to head into Snake. No passing certainly through here, but Pierce is right on the back bumper. Maybe going to look into the second set of S's. It'd be very sketchy to do so. So it looks like he's just going to hold back in line right now and maybe wait for a mistake from Steiner. But he is glued to that back bumper. And this is making Steiner, I think, drive a little bit more defensively, trying to stay ahead, and he's now starting to lose time to your leader, as it's out to about a second and a half right now, as these guys are starting to catch a little bit of lap traffic.
Yeah, a little bit of headlight flashing there from Caffrey, just letting the guy in front know, look, I'm here. Please don't hold me up. I've got I've got two
drivers.
cars. Yeah, I've got two cars, and they want to pass me. So please, if you wouldn't mind, I really would like to just pass you easily, if that's okay with you. But he's caught him at the wrong point.
And that's going to take out our second place driver, and it looks like even Andrew Payne having a bit of an issue there. We'll take a look at that one more time. And we'll see if there was any contact here between Caffrey and Culver. And looks like Caffrey goes to the inside, and Culver would look like he might have been going to the inside to try and avoid him. A little bit of damage on the front end of that 77, and looks like trying to avoid it. Steiner's just going to lose it by himself.
Yeah.
Hooks it into the wall.
Hard on the...
Hard into the wall. Looks like Caffrey just taking a ride, or I'm sorry, Payne taking a ride through the grass. So he is going to be safe, but hard impact right there. And James Pierce getting along through, and he is going to take the lead from that as well. We'll take a look at that crash one more time from the view of Andrew Payne. I can slow it down while I switch over the cameras here. And you see, I mean, obviously, these guys in the cockpits, if they're using, VR, if they're using multiple monitors, you'll be able to see around a little bit more. But if they're using only a single monitor, which is what you guys are looking at right here, you see just how little you can see, and you see a car right there smoking, drifting across the track. You got no choice. You're taking right to the grass here. So I think a move that Payne didn't want to do, but a smart move to take it through the grass and just save the car.
You can see him counter steering just to keep the thing in a vaguely straight line. Gets the wheel back onto the tarmac and then back on the gas, and off he goes. Wow. That was a great piece of driving, actually. All credit where it's due.
That was obviously in a quarter time. Now you take a look at it in real time and just see how quick the reactions have to be for the driver here. And that gives you a little bit more appreciation of the reaction time and the save by Payne, as that thing could have easily snapped around. Maybe not have gotten to the wall, maybe gotten to the wall, but a great piece of driving there for the 93.
Yeah. Credit where it's due. Great drive.
So that's going to shake up our front order here a little bit. James Pierce has got the lead and already is saying bye-bye to the field. Out to almost a 2-second lead already over Michael Caffrey in second. Andrew Payne in third. Nathan Biggert, David Steiner rounding out your top 5. And you got Mark Odell, Wesley Strait, Colby Hartung, Cameron DeRue, and Michael Strickland round out your top 10. I guess if there's any kind of silver lining there for David Steiner, it's that the pit road was right there if he wanted to come in, but it looks like he elected to stay out with that BMW, and certainly some damage to the front end of that thing. Not sure how bad it's handling, but maybe he's thinking that, since he is, not in the pit window yet, he wants to try and stay out until that time, as he is still in 5th place.
Yeah, I think that's probably wise. Truth be told, I wouldn't want to come in if it's handling kind of okay. I'd want to kind of leave it out there and just try and I say nurse it, but just try and get it to where I can get into the pits without having to take. You had to go there, didn't you? You had to.
I seen it was close. I seen it was close. I wanted to try and give him his due and get him something here, and a nice little save right there.
Go on, Mr. Grijalva. That's it.
I mean, I would say he's got to be a man after your own heart with the paint scheme there as well.
He is, absolutely he is. I mean, come on, the Golf colours, old Porsche Golf colours. Okay, it's on a Ford, but I mean, come on, yeah, you gotta admit, it looks good. It does look good.
He's just content.
And he's driving a GT, and he's driving the GT. I mean, that's, you know, you gotta give him props for that alone.
It looks like he's, I was going to say he's content riding behind Mr. Roberge here, but maybe not, as he's getting a little feisty back there, trying to move that Porsche up into to 13th spot. But certainly has made a few passes here in the race, so credit due. Again, as we're closing in on the halfway mark, halfway done almost, and still see that 99 out there. So a great job. I mean, obviously, all joking aside, I mean, it was just, again, a rough start to the season for the 99 team at both Laguna Seca and then at Spa, even worse. But we've got some pit stops here, Mark, and your leader's in pit road, just shy of halfway. Now the question is this, you know, just short pitting here to try and get this thing to the end, or are these guys officially out of fuel and this could end up being a two-stop race?
Ooh.
David Steiner is gonna make it around another lap, or at least attempt to, and this could be what he needs to get himself back in the race, because if he can get this thing around one more time and get it very, very close to that halfway point time-wise, he could end up making a one-stop race out of this when everybody else is good. Maybe gonna have to limp home again. Not sure on the fuel strategy here, how long these guys can actually go, if they're, you know, just at the front end of their window right now, they're deciding to pit, or if they just straight up had to pit. But Steiner right now is going to make a go of it, as is Mark Odell, Wesley Straight, Colby Hartung, Michael Strickland, and Philip Caffrey. All those guys electing to stay out, as does Mark Rockin back there in 10th position, but everybody else taking the pit road.
I don't know whether they've got enough to stay out. Have they got enough to stay out?
I mean, to me, it's kind of interesting to see that many cars come in right there at that time. It makes it seem like they don't have enough, and they needed to come in at that point. I don't think you'd see that many guys going for an undercut, especially, you know, from your leader after he just finally took the lead. So I'm thinking that they may end up having to stop twice, unless they're going to save a ton of fuel on this second run. But David Steiner trying to right the wrongs of getting involved in that little incident a few laps ago, and he can coast from here coming down the hill. He is certainly going to make it around, as is Odell and Straight. And yep, here comes the 63 and the 9 and the 89.
29 minutes and 21 seconds they rolled in it.
But I mean, you know, once you refuel, it's going to be past halfway. So yeah, these guys should be good to go. Maybe having to save just a little bit. Is this where the Porsche is struggling here?
Well, yeah, but there's a Porsche in there with them. So
very true.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. This is.
I mean, Mark Odell was you know, back in the pack a little bit, so maybe just hanging back there, saving fuel. As Philip Caffrey has yet to pit and going around again. Clearly that Ferrari not struggling for fuel mileage, as this is your leader right now until he comes into the pits. And Mark, I think it's safe to say he's definitely going to make this a one-stop strategy.
Oh yeah, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, he's going to make this one stop.
And this is pretty big for Mr. Caffrey, as now, you know, starting in 7th position, he was kind of just hanging back for a while, and I was wondering where that speed was. Maybe now this is kind of telling the story here a little bit, because once he comes in here, now he can go full bore all the way to the end, and he should be able to not have to worry about any fuel saving in this second run, and maybe you'll see him start making his way up through the field.
Well, the other thing that I have to question is that it doesn't look like Pierce has backed off in any way, shape or form. So is he going to make it, or is he now just trying to put enough gap in so that he can make his second stop?
Well, I mean, he came into the pits with James Pierce and Michael Caffrey and Andrew Payne and Nathan Biggert, so I think all those guys are, well, I don't know about all, but certainly James Pierce is turning this into a two-stop race, as he is not off the pace at all. He is flying out there with his Porsche. Not sure what the other guys are going to do, and maybe this is the time where you talk to the other teams and you ask them, like, hey, do you want to try and get this thing to the end on fuel strategy, and maybe you work together to try and beat the man that's been beating them all season so far.
Yeah. My curiosity is peaked now with Steiner. I mean, how hard can he run? Can he actually make it to the end on the fuel that he's got now, or will Pierce now suddenly switch over to fuel save mode? Now he feels like he's got a little bit of a gap, and try and save that. But I mean, that's still 2 minutes worth of fuel. That's a full lap around here, and this is a long lap. What is it, 3 miles or something? It's pretty close. That's a fair chunk of fuel to save, especially if you've got guys behind you, Caffrey and Payne.
Yeah, and those guys certainly not driving slow, as both guys ran their fastest laps of the race that last lap. And Andrew Payne, the fastest lap out of anybody this entire race, as he's the first one to eclipse the 147 mark, as James Pierce had a 147 flat, but Andrew Payne running a 146.91 that last lap. So these guys certainly not holding back, I don't think, here. I don't think any of these guys up front are holding back at all, or in a fuel save mode, at least at this point. They're certainly racing this thing out right now, and Payne looking to try and get himself back up there into second place, as he is all over the backside of Michael Caffrey.
The only thing that I wish that we did have was to see whether or not they took tyres or not, because the pit lane time all looks roughly about the same. But I know Steiner took tyres. I saw that BMW come up in the air, and now I'm presuming that some of them did, that most of them did take tyres. But we've been in situations where coming out on fresh rubber, especially, the first lap or two, you lose a bit of time because those tyres are cold. They take a little time to come up to temp. I don't know.
Well, I'm looking at a couple of these times in here, and Nathan Biggert came in at the same time as the rest of these guys, but his pit stop was about 5 seconds longer than James Pierce, Caffrey, and Biggert. I mean, I'm sorry, Payne. So that could be the difference right there. That maybe Biggert took tires and the other guys didn't. Again, I'm speculating. I could be wrong here, but it's kind of weird that his pit time, not just the entire time that he's been in pit lane, but his pit time, the time that he was in pits, unless he was getting some repairs done, the fact that it was about 5 seconds longer is telling me some kind of a story here.
Yeah, 31.93. I'm looking for Steiner's now, 29.28. So, I mean, they were both around the 30-second mark, where Pierce, Caffrey, Payne. I mean, Caffrey was only stationary for 24 seconds. I mean,
as we got the lap times up right there, or the pit times up right there now on your screen, all the way on the right, and you see 26 seconds, 24, 26, and even 25 down below there with Mark Odell. But Nathan Biggert's with 31, almost 32 seconds. So something was going on in the 19 pit, just not sure what. But Mark, again, we talk about diversity, and this field is just trying to exactly do the opposite. I mean, you've got the top 5 spots as Porsches, you got the next 3 spots as BMWs, almost the next 3 spots as your Ferraris. It's kind of funny to see that it's like we're watching a multi-class race at this point.
Yeah, it's funny. As soon as you said the diversity, I looked over at the screen and I had to have a look. Oh, no, Steiner's past the Porsche.
There we go. Okay. There we go. There's a little diversity in the field.
Thank you, David. Appreciate you. Love you, buddy. Good grief. But again, what this does prove is that Steiner still has pace. There's still pace in that car. I mean, we know he has pace because he was up there with Payne, I believe it was, or was it Caffrey? I can't remember.
No, it was Caffrey. Yeah, Caffrey.
It was Caffrey.
Yep.
Yeah. So we know that BMW has pace in it. The trick is now can he actually maintain that gap, or can he close down on Nathan, who's 10 seconds up the road at the moment? And if he can, are any of the top three who have a 20-second gap over Nathan, over Steiner, to a 28-second gap, can they make it to the end?
I mean, all signs for me are certainly pointing towards no for that front group. I don't think again that they stopped right at the beginning of their little pit cycle there. I think this is going to be one where they're kind of stuck in a two-stop race where some of these guys may be making it a one-stopper here, but certainly got to keep it clean and on the track here. Now,
big old four-wheel drift out from Steiner as he come down. It looked like he was coming down left hook. Looked like he was going through hog pen.
So as it stands right now, your top four pit on lap 15. Positions 5, 6, 7, and 8 pit on lap 16. And then position number 9, Philip Caffrey, pit on lap 17. And again, it's not necessarily what lap you pit on, but kind of where you were time-wise. And those guys that pit on lap 16 got to their pit stall pretty much right at the 30-minute mark. So it makes it seem like they should easily be able to make it to the end. Certainly going around in a lap for Philip Caffrey, he will be making it to the end with that Ferrari. These Porsches up front, though, these front four Porsches, I'm not quite sure if they got enough. If maybe they're talking to each other and saying, hey, we all got to back down the pace, but I don't think the pace is back down at all, considering the last lap by Pierce was a 146.99, so his best lap of the race so far. But the two guys behind him maybe a little bit slower in that lap. Not sure if lap cars played any part in that picture, but it's a clear second place right now for Mr. Michael Caffrey, as he is out to about a 2.5-second lead over Andrew Payne in third place. As you see, they were dealing with a little bit of lap traffic right there. And then he got 10.5 seconds back to Nathan Biggert in fourth place. Another almost 10 seconds back to David Steiner in fifth place. So you got to wonder at this point, if these guys are saving, do they have a big enough gap that they're not going to lose that entire thing from saving? And if they're not saving, do they have a big enough gap that they can maybe even still pit and still get out in the lead?
Well, I'm trying to do the maths real quick in my head, Carl. Maths is not exactly my strong point, but I'm doing my best. The pit lane time in total was on average 52 seconds. But if they're taking 26 seconds, that on average would look like another 26 seconds worth of pit entry and pit exit, less their stop time.
Yeah,
so that gives them a 26-second gap if they take a splash of fuel.
A very minuscule splash of fuel. Yep.
Yeah, like a gallon, say a gallon a second on average. So yeah, I mean, it's the 28 seconds that gap that they would have would be about what they're about how far Steiner is behind. So it would be close as all hell.
Yeah, and that's the gap from first to fifth right now, but certainly not from second to fifth. So right now Steiner is within that window, and again, you got to figure that Steiner is now all out, driving this thing to the end. And he was one of the fastest cars on the track when he was up front, and he's certainly no slouch right now, as he's turned in a faster lap than the four guys in front of him the last lap. And he should be straight up a little faster, whether, you know, these guys all took tires, whether none of them took tires. He's going to be a little bit fresher in the fact that his tires are a little bit cooler than these guys. He pit more, or he pit later than them, so his tires aren't you know, fully scorched back into the track, and he may be a little bit more aware with the little slide that he had, but the fact that he had that little bit of slide and he's still, you know, within 30 seconds of the leader is a pretty good feat right here.
Yeah, this is where some of the this is where a lot of the GT3 races come down to. It's not just about who's out there, it's who's thought the race through. Can they make it to the end? Can I do it on without taking tires? Do I have to take tires? How much fuel am I going to need to make it to the end? Can I make a splash and dash at the end? You know, all of these things are running through your head. You're looking through your fuel calc and you're trying to do the math in your head, all while you're doing 100 mile an hour plus around a track, which is still one of the more difficult tracks to get your head around, where you just cannot make a mistake. All of these calculations you're trying to make, and you're keeping an eye, and you've got your spotter calling in your ear, and the lap times coming into you. It's not as easy as it sounds.
All while you're going through corners named Snake and Roller Coaster, and and not exactly easy. And don't forget Left Hook.
Yeah. What a name for a corner. Just why?
Well, I guess Left Turn was taken, so.
Yeah.
I mean, they already had 6 taken, so what are we going to name the next corner? 6A? All right, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So we will we'll take a run through the field here real quick, show you everybody's paint schemes while we can, as these guys put in either a lot of work or from some, you know, just a lot of money putting these paints on the car, and trying to find a good camera view to show you a good picture of these cars. As I figured and these chase cams were not going to be the best, but you get a good look at the side of the car down there in their little picture. But again, in the lead, the 23 Porsche of James Pierce. Second place, the 77 of Michael Caffrey. In third place, the 93 of Andrew Payne. Fourth place, the 19 of Nathan Biggert. The Porsche beater here in fifth place of David Steiner, the only one that is besting a Porsche right now, as Mark Odell is the last Porsche in the race here, but still in sixth place, so certainly had nothing to scoff at there for the 9. Wesley Straight here in an 89, as he is in 7th position. Colby Hartung in 8th position in the number 21. Philip Caffrey certainly on a strategy that we've got our eyes on here in the 61 and 9th position. Michael Strickland in 10th position in the 88 Ferrari. Mark Rockin in the 76 Ferrari in 11th position. Joseph Gradalva, I was afraid to click on it because it just said that he crashed, and we'll take a look at that in a second and see how bad he crashed. But clearly it looks like he's got that thing under control and on the back edge of the top 10. The 98 of Chris Roberge in 13th position in his BMW. Probably the wrong time to jump onto Steven Salas here, but he is in the lone McLaren out here in the number 31 and 13th. I'm sorry, 14th. And then, unfortunately, the rest of these guys, you got Cameron DeRue is out of the race, 3 laps down. Jerry Culver out of the race, 3 laps down as well in 16th. Robert Church out of the race, 9 laps down. I'm sorry, the first 2 were 4 laps down and 8 laps down. And then Robert Church in 17th here, 10 laps down. And then Dominique Ford did not take the green flag. But out front now by 11.5 seconds is Mr. James Pierce, and putting on another performance here. Whether he wins this thing or loses this thing on pit strategy, he has certainly been, once again, the class of the field, and looking for a way now around the 76 here of Mark Rockin, and this is to lap all the way up to the top 10 positions.
Looks like he's got a gap on Caffrey. They were quite close. Did something happen?
I think it's just the raw speed. I'm looking back through here. I don't see anything happening to Caffrey. But since we are past halfway, and while we still got a chance, and we got about 13 minutes left in this race, it's about time to crank these guys up, crank us down, and give you guys a little love to hear it. Once again, the awesome sights and sounds here of the different GT cars out here, the Porsche, the BMW, the Ferrari, little Ford, and McLaren action. Unfortunately, not going to get to hear the Mercedes grunt tonight, as our three Mercedes of Daru, Culver, and Ford, none of them on the track anymore for tonight. A little bit of brewing here for second place, though, as Payne has caught in, I keep wanting to say McCaffrey, but his Michael Caffrey out here in second position, and it is now down to less than half a second, and we got Mark Rockin right in front of him, a lap car in 11th position. See if that plays any kind of part here, as again, we're getting close to that point where we're going to have to see these guys either make that dive into pit lane or just really go into save mode to finish this thing out.
Yeah, I have to admit, this is my curiosity is now fully piqued. A great piece of driving. Very aware of the back marker. Sideways. He's making a move.
Not sure. I was going to say that. I think that's the best move that he could have made right there, is falling back behind Caffrey, going through the S's here. You're not going to go side by side through there. It's hard enough going at pretty much full speed by yourself through there. So a good smart move there by Payne, falling back in line. Live to fight another day, as there you go. The mistake that he wanted to have happen, as Caffrey puts it off track. Doesn't look like he has any kind of damage. But we'll take a look at that spin here one more time. Just gets a little bit of grass. And nice and sideways into the wall. Doesn't look like too much of any damage. Hopefully there's no wheel damage on that 77 as he drives away. And retains third position. Brings Biggert a little bit closer, though. Now Biggert only 4 seconds behind third place. And how about James Pierce putting in the fastest lap of the race with a 146.71 this last lap. That is pretty much blazing out here. And we're now down under 5 minutes, Mark, so I feel like we're going to see some pit stops here in the next couple laps for a little splash and dash. And if you're James Pierce right now, again, that 28 seconds has got you covered for a top 5, but doesn't have you covered for the win. He's certainly going to need these guys behind him to come into pits as well if he's going to get this thing done.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. I'm wondering if Pierce has had his toe down. He's been giving it everything he can, because he knows full well that he needs to have that gap to be able to make it to the end and to still win this. He is absolutely pushing that car to it. It's absolutely... I've seen more car on grass than I have car on tarmac with the way Pierce is driving right now. He is cutting every little tenth of a second he can out of that. Oh, who's that? No!
Looks like Payne having a little bit of a situation right there, as we'll take a look back. Yeah, this is the pass on Caffrey. Okay, that's what I was looking for. All right, so now we'll take a look back at Payne, and pretty much does the exact same thing. Gets a little bit of grass, loops it around, and right here is going to get passed by Caffrey one more time. So again, it is Caffrey back into second, Payne into third. As now Philip Caffrey having a bit of a moment here, going through Hogpen, and
hold on, right.
Just drifting, and meanwhile you're further off the track than you are. The track is wide, as it was way out there, and gonna bring it back on there. No damage, certainly a lot of grass on those tires, but it's a good job by Philip McCaffrey getting that thing back on track. Bit of a battle now, and Biggert diving to the inside for third. Not going to happen just yet. Payne going to fight back. As Lightning McQueen certainly smiling on that Porsche right now, as Biggert eyeing up a podium spot.
I'm wondering. Pierce is going to have to come in this lap, surely. If he can't one-stop this has got to be the lap he comes in, because we've only got 2 minutes left
And now with the issues for Caffrey and Payne both spinning, he's almost got the entire field covered for that pit stop, as he's about 26.5 seconds ahead of Caffrey right now. So I think even if you're on the edge for Pierce, you gotta come in. You gotta take that chance to come in and take that stop and go and come back out. But gonna be very interesting, as we'll keep our eyes on James Pierce now coming through the final sector, and he is gonna stay out. Try to take a look and see if that was indeed the white flag this lap. It should be the white flag in the air. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I can't see it. I'm not seeing it.
I'll hop on board with Caffrey and see if we can see anything on the right-hand side of the screen coming up through here. And actually, do we even... Yep, there's the white flag.
Yeah, there he is. Bonus. Yeah.
So this is it. And it looks like these guys have made their bid, and maybe they were on that front edge of the pit cycle, and this whole thing was just throwing us off the entire time. But either way, these guys are going to try and make this thing on fuel. And it's almost a shame for guys like Philip Caffrey, who I would have loved to see the pit strategy working in his way and see how many positions he could have gained because of that. But fortunately had a little bit of issues there, obviously driving way off the track and now getting flashed by James Pierce down the backstretch. But these guys are on their final lap here. Again, want to thank all our sponsors out here. Main sponsor, Fuego Paints, Admin Box, Track Racer, and W Energy. As this has been a very, very interesting and action-filled race here at Virginia International Raceway, but it is all said and done, and 3 for 3. The 23 is back on the top step of the podium one more time, as Pierce, maybe going to make it a little interesting there, driving through the grass. And still saves it twice, as shows you his car control right there. Don't tell me this happened at the end of the race. The 99, no. Joseph Rajava says he crashed. Don't do it to me. And certainly don't do it to Mark. Great job. Yes! So clearly, if we had a vote for driver of the race, you know, it could certainly go to James Pierce, being up 13 spots and grabbing the win. It could certainly go to Nathan Biggert, being up 9 spots in 4th place.
No, sorry, no.
I know where Mark's vote's going to go, though.
Yeah. Joseph has it. He's won.
As we still are actually, we are now completely. They're in turn 1 and 2 there, but heck of a finish there for 3rd and 4th, as it's going to be James Pierce, Michael Caffrey, Andrew Payne, Nathan Biggert, your top 4. Steiner comes home in 5th. Odell in 6th. In 7th place is going to be Straight. Colby Hartung now coming around, and he's going to get the checker flag here in 8th position. Ninth place coming through Roller Coaster right now, and this is the 88 of Michael Strickland, and certainly a race that could have been here, qualifying on the front row, but just a bit of a rough one out here for Mr. Strickland. He is going to bring this thing home in 9th position, getting hounded down there by Philip Caffrey in the end, as Philip Caffrey going to finish there in 10th position. Mark Rockin in 11th, Chris Robarge in 12th, Joseph Krajalva in 13th position, and completing all the laps but 1. So we will certainly take that for him. Steven Salas in 14th, and then the drivers that did not make the rest of the race: Cameron DeRue, Jerry Culver, Robert Church, and Dominique Ford going to round out your field. But Virginia, I don't think disappointed here, and I think it was pretty much spot on with our pre-race discussion regarding how tough this thing is, and maybe how new it is to some of these drivers, as some of these guys certainly struggled to keep this thing on track.
Yeah. I'm not sure that it was due to due to anything other than it being Virginia. I think it's just one of those tracks that when you're pushing, and you do need to push to get a decent lap time around here. You can see just how hard Pierce was pushing when he was getting these ultra quick lap times. When you're trying to catch the guy in front, you have to take those little chances, and you have to run the car as close to the edges as you can to get that run out of the corner. And as we were saying, the edge is so close to the grass that it just takes that little bit of contact with the grass, and either the front end or the rear end loses grip, and before you know it, you've lost 5, 6, 7 seconds to the guy in front of you, and the guy behind you is all over you.
So now we'll bring in our top 3, and we're going to start with our 3rd place finisher, and that is going to be, as I get this thing corrected here, it is going to be the 93 of Andrew Payne, and let's see. Okay, yep, there he is. As it's not letting me drag him. There we go. All right, so now the 3rd place finisher of Andrew Payne. Mark, why don't you go ahead and take our 3rd place finisher?
Andrew, Mark up here in the booth. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Sweating. I'm not even in the car and I'm sweating. I mean, it's just, they look tough out there. It looked like a tricky race. It all seemed to boil down to what essentially was the last 3 or 4 laps with you and Caffrey just going at it, hammer and tong. First a mistake from Caffrey that lets you pass, and then just a little bit of, it looked like rear tyre catching that grass and just spinning you out a little 1 lap from the end.
Yeah, it was. I just tipped the tire a little bit too much there, and I mean that's all on me. Can't really, can't be upset with anyone but myself there. But yeah, that was quite the fun battle I had there. I was talking to Michael before this, and I was telling him, I'm like, I'm exhausted. I was not quite prepared to run as well as I did today. Qualifying pole, then finishing top throughs was pretty solid, I think. And I'm not normally a road guy. I'm definitely more on the oval side of things. I love the NASCAR stuff, but kind of getting out of my comfort zone a little bit in these cars, and just got to minimize the mistakes. Made a couple today, 1 from the lead and 1 from 2nd place. But it was a total blast. I'm pretty tired, but I think this was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the season goes.
So coming from an oval background, a lot of these tracks must be relatively new to you. Was Virginia one of those? Had you managed to get much time in on the track before you came here today?
So I did a little bit. I know it's sort of backwards, but I actually used the Dallara IR18 to get some practice laps around here when the schedule first came out. And I know, like I said, I know it's a little bit backwards because the cars are faster, have a lot more grip than these cars, but it actually helped me a lot. And I did make some laps in the Porsche prior to tonight. And once I got going in practice today, kind of got back in that rhythm from taking a little bit of a break. It really got to me. I really got in a groove, and I know I'm probably pushing the limits on some of these turns. I know I got a few incident points where I should probably not have, but yeah, it's a total. I mean, it's totally different. I love running the NASCAR cars on the oval or on the road courses. Excuse me. Those are sort of my bread and butter on the NASCAR side of things, but yeah, these are a totally different animal, and I'm loving it so far. It's helped, I'm sure it's going to help me get better on the oval side of things, and I'm just learning a lot. And I mean, to run with Caffrey and James and all these guys and run competitively it is an honor, because I know that both those guys are really good on the road courses. So to be speaking here with you guys tonight is really cool for me, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how next week goes.
Well, considering that, as you say, that you come from an oval background rather than a road racing background, you certainly didn't disappoint tonight. You were up there. You were pushing Caffrey for for a great deal of the race. He couldn't seem to shake you, and as you say, I mean, if those guys do specialise more on the road course stuff, you certainly gave yourself one hell of a showing. Couldn't agree more about how tough it is out there. This is not one of my favourite racetracks, and we were saying it's not one of the most commonly used racetracks. So for you to be able to run up there, with the pace that you were running, was certainly an impressive display from you tonight. Congratulations. Before I let you go back, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out to before I let you go back to the team?
Yeah, first and foremost, thank you guys for broadcasting these races and calling them as you do. I know you guys are new to the Chop Shop League for this series, and really appreciate you guys taking some time out of your evenings and days to come out and call some virtual road courses. Huge shout out to John Strecker and all the other admins for putting on the series, putting on the league. I've really enjoyed it in the last year and a half, from oval to road course now, and it's been a blast. Huge shout out to all my partners: V&H Fresh, Citrus Hat Sod Mower, Hall Metal Fab, QuickTime Motorsports Media, SimWrap Market, ASRC, Ryko Performance. Huge shout out to all my fellow competitors. It's really fun running with these guys. And last but certainly not least, huge shout out to all the fans that come out and support the league, the broadcast, the drivers. Without you guys, we would not be here, and really appreciate it. And like I've said a couple times, really looking forward to next week.
Andrew, it's been a pleasure having you up here in the booth. I will let you go. Congratulations again. Great finish on the Thursday.
Thank you.
At your third place finisher here tonight, the 93 of Andrew Payne. And now we will switch over to our second place finisher, and that is going to be the 77 of Michael Caffrey. And Michael, it was certainly an interesting race there coming towards the end, and it looked like you had second place in the bag, but Payne just started reeling you in, and then you made the mistake there in Oak. And did you feel like you threw away second place at that point, or do you feel like you still had the pace that you could have run him down if he didn't make that mistake?
No, I felt if he hadn't made that mistake again on the next one or two laps after that, but I felt I'd thrown it away, and I was settling into third and just trying to stay in front of Nathan. Hopefully I didn't have much damage, because I did touch the outside wall, only barely, but I had touched it, and I was just trying to stay in front of Nate at that stage. I think he was down to about three seconds.
Yeah, he was certainly reeling you guys in as well, and it looked like you kind of flatted it right on the wall, almost perfectly, and it didn't look like much damage. If anything, maybe scuffed up a little bit. I was just worried if you had any kind of wheel damage, but clearly looked like it was driving pretty well. The other question I got for you is, when you guys came in the pits, it was around the 27-28 minute mark. Were you guys good to go on fuel at that point? Were you just kind of coming in at the beginning of your window, or were you having to save a little bit in that second stint?
No, I knew I was pretty safe at that stage, and I was just sort of dropped it down to as little as I could, just to try and save a little bit extra time in that on pit lane. And I sort of jumped onto the back of James. I nearly got him, but I had about a minute of damage at that point as well. I had a bit of a run-in with Jerry that you would have seen earlier in the race. I went to go up the inside as we were approaching the start-finish line, and I thought he'd seen me, but he mustn't have, and he sort of just moved over a little bit.
Yeah, we've seen that.
We just touched, and unfortunately, Dave must have touched the brakes then, because he was well in the mix as well, and Dave Steiner must have touched the brakes, and I just saw him sort of go sideways, or have a bit of a loss as well.
Yeah, and he ended up really nailing the wall, and kind of surprised he didn't bring it in right there and get that thing fixed up. But I'm guessing he wasn't in the window, and he wanted to make sure he got there. But he did a good job finishing fifth. But yeah, that was certainly a bit of a turning point in the race, and unfortunately that cost you the lead at that point, as Pierce was able to navigate around the wrecking cars and the guys trying to save their cars, and able to pass you right there and kind of check out from there. As soon as he got by you, was it kind of a thought, let me try and chase it for a couple laps, see if I got the pace, but then kind of fall into second place and run your own race?
Yeah, look, I would have loved that little challenge of trying to race James, we'll see how much quicker he was through a bunch of the corners when he was right at me. But hey, he got round, and he was sort of off into the distance not too long after that. He just had a bunch of those corners where he was just hitting the apex a little bit better than and getting that drive out better than me. But look, I think right at the start. I sort of got that dive in on striker at the start, which sort of helped me out a little bit into that first corner, which sort of set me up right behind who we behind then, Andrew, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep. So a bit of a gauntlet to start the season here with Laguna Seca, Spa last week, and now Virginia, and none of the tracks are particularly easy. Certainly if you have some GT experience, maybe Spa was the easiest out of all three, and that certainly can bite you at any point, and it did for some of the drivers. Now you guys got the off week next week, and then you head to Red Bull Ring, and for me, comparing Red Bull Ring to the first three races, Red Bull Ring seems like a cakewalk. It's certainly not as difficult, but speed is going to be the big key right there. But are there any plans in the off week? Are there any kind of tracks that you're looking to prepare for? Maybe down the road, or are you just taking it one race at a time?
Nah, one race at a time. Bathurst is probably one of my favourite, and Nürburgring. But
I wonder why.
Why? Yeah, just down under, baby. But that is, and I know there's a few other guys that love that Bathurst track as well.
I'm guessing David Steiner and maybe Philip Caffrey. Just throwing that out there.
And Nate's a bit of a weapon at Bathurst as well, so that I've definitely blocked them out in the calendar. I'm definitely not going to miss that. But there's a bunch of tracks on there that I haven't actually done. I've never raced on VIR before, and really Laguna as well. But I love coming on the tracks and just also it doesn't matter where I come really. I just I want to put the time in and just racing around with the guys, because a great bunch of guys. Chop Shop Racing as well. They've got a good team of guys that are racing on there.
Well, I hate to end the interview here as we are watching in slow-mo your little wreck here in Oak, but you get to enjoy that now one more time. But it got you second place either way. So congrats again on the second place. Before I let you go, anybody you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
Hey, thanks for the broadcast, Carl and Mark, and just to shout out the rest of the guys that were racing today. I want to apologise to Jerry. I bumped him around at the inside of there, and I think I sent him around. So I do apologise for that, Jerry, and good work for James and Andrew for the P3.
All right, well, a great drive here for second place, and certainly should shoot you up the standings here a little bit, and just got to figure out how to get that one extra spot to get James by the end of the season for sure. But either way, a good drive here for second, and we'll let you get back to the team.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's your second place finisher, the 77 of Michael Caffrey, and now finally, Mark, take Mr. 3 for 3, and that is the 23 of James Pierce.
James Mock up here in the booth. How are you, my friend?
Good. Sorry, I got a fry in my mouth.
You're welcome. Yeah, need substance after that, dear. It looked a bit grueling at times.
That was good fun. Sorry, I'm trying to not. No, it was good fun. I enjoyed it. It's a good track to kind of grind through. I really enjoyed it a lot, especially with the Porsche. Kind of flowing, kind of suits it a little bit. Although the rear really does want to really show itself and be the spotlight. But it was good fun grilling through it and kind of making my way through it. The traffic, it was really enjoyable and kind of more difficult than I thought. I thought it was going to be a little easier with the back straight, but no, with the draft not being as strong as it was really, really interesting to try and have to really set up passes. So it made it really, really difficult, which was really cool.
Yeah, we were talking about how this track isn't used as often as iRacing as a lot of the others, and I think some of the other drivers were on a little bit of the struggle bus tonight. You seem to make it look easy. You did have extreme flow. You're using every bit of the curb, and at times I think that there was a little bit of grass underneath those tyres as well. It looked very, very easy for you. Did you find it easy, or were you really pushing on?
I felt it wasn't really so much super easy. It was kind of a learning thing because I'd never done laps around here before. So that first couple laps in the practice session were my first kind of introductions to it. So it was really kind of a hard learning curve to get to it. You know, the pace I wanted to be at, but now it's especially with the Porsche, the way it is if you push it too hard now, it kills the tires. So I was trying to find the balance, you know, working through the field and working through that race, trying to find the balance of where the car could be, and started to find a little more of the grass than I wanted. I was making matcha smoothies for people with the amount of grass I was getting clipped. So, but no, it was, well, I wouldn't say easy. It was more so fulfilling in a way. It was really good to kind of work my pace up to a point where I was happy with it and kind of do it in a way that was a real challenge because people were really quick today. So it was really hard to get around them. So I really had to be on my A game today.
Yeah, we Caffrey, Payne, Steiner, they had really, really good pace here tonight. It looked like it was going to be more of a challenge for you here than it has been for some of the other weeks. At the end, it did seem to come down to the fact that you got your eye in, and the track did seem to come to you, and that seemed to work to you. One thing I would ask is, Carl was talking to Michael a second ago about the pit strategy, about how you came in. It seemed to be like a lap earlier than a lot of the other drivers. When you did come into the pit, did you know full well that you had more than enough fuel to make it to the end, or were you conserving at the end, or was that the plan all along?
Pit stop wise, I was kind of having to work through the field. I use a lot more. And I had no clue on the strategy considering it was my first couple of laps around here. So I didn't know what was going in, and I kind of pitted and saw only a couple come in. So I guess I was a little early on it. And I just used the auto fuel in iRacing, and come to find out I had 7 extra laps of fuel at the end of the race. So that was interesting to say the least. But no, strategy wise, it was interesting because Michael almost jumped me in the pits. I came in like I think it was 2 or 1.5 seconds ahead and left on my butt, and I was like, oh no. I thought it was kind of thrown away, or I'd have to at least push through 1 or 2 guys that maybe had jumped us, but it seemed to work out for me and got lucky with that. And you know, iRacing's auto fuel kind of gave me a reason, I guess, drive more laps around here and get more practice. So, but no, I didn't know what happened with this fuel strategy. Just kind of glad it worked out for me that way.
Okay, perfect. Well. As we were saying, off to Red Bull next. You must have some practice going on around there. That's got to be an easier track for you than it was tonight.
I'm
okay. Maybe not. I'll take you back.
Not so much. Not so much. Had some bad history of not being able to finish league races around there, especially in the IndyCar. So hopefully we're gonna have a better time of it. But it's a great track. It'll be really fun, especially a lot of pace is gonna be around there, guys, because you know, mostly European track and kind of on a lot of the calendars. So a lot of people are gonna have pace. So it's gonna be a good challenge, and I'm looking forward to everyone really kind of showing up for that one. So it should be a good race.
Perfect. Before I let you go, James, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Shout out, obviously, my Team Huskenveld, Fanatec, Sim3D, and Race Anywhere, and the Twisted Boys back in England that allow me to race for them, and of course the team owner Harry, good lad, dad as always, forever dad, and then my grandparents for always kind of accommodating, give me water halfway through this race because I didn't realize it got up to 95 Fahrenheit in the room. And of course, thank you to the Chop Shop guys. It's a great honor to be here, and it's just great fun, as well as you guys. You guys put on a great show, and you guys make it really fun to watch and go back. And I always rewatch the broadcast, and you guys always do a great job, and I really, really appreciate you guys. You guys do a wonderful job up there.
Thank you so much, James. We really do appreciate that up here in the booth. So I think I'm going to let you go and probably take on some more water if it's 95 around there. You need to keep hydrated, buddy. Keep hydrated. Okay, then, my friend. But we will see you next week. You take care.
You as well, guys. Have a good one.
That your winner here tonight and this whole season so far, as he's 3 for 3 of the 23 of James Pierce. And yeah, just putting on another clinic here, and whether he had practice here in the track or not, he certainly found the pace throughout the race. Some new guys, new faces up front here to start the race, and even finishing out the races, as we had some of the guys at the back half of the top 10 in the points finishing well here tonight. So it should shake up the point standings throughout the off week here. We're going to be off again next Wednesday for their bye week, and then we are straight through to the end of the season for the Chop Shop GT Series presented by Fuego Paints. And again, coming back at Red Bull, I'm a fan of Red Bull Ring. I think it's just a cool, fast little flowy track. It's certainly got some testy little turns, like turn one. It's just I don't know. Turn one's kind of my bugaboo corner at that track. I feel like I can never get that turn right.
I love that one.
And then there's times where I feel like, oh my god, that's definitely gonna be an off. That's gonna be a time penalty. I'm gonna have to slow up, and it's nothing. So I don't know. I just don't understand turn one. After that, fantastic. Love the track.
I love turn one. That's my favourite part. I always seem to be able to get decent drive out of turn one at Red Bull. It's that last sequence just before you hit the start-finish streak that always seems to kill me. I can never get it right. As you come into the sharp right that leads down the hill onto that right just before the start-finish straight, and you have to run it wide. Every time I think I've run too wide. I've run too wide. I haven't run wide enough. And then just when I think, I've nailed it, off track. Thanks very much. And then as you come onto the straight, off track. God damn it! No, I can't stand it.
Well, just like our setups and pretty much everything else in life, everything that works for me doesn't work for you, and vice versa. So it sounds about right. Well, we'll see what these drivers do in a couple weeks. So enjoy your week off as we got some more series that are going to be starting up next week, including the Lucky Dog late model series with Dylan. He's gonna be starting that up next Wednesday as well. So gonna be having a bit of a doubleheader on Wednesday, and I believe the week I think next week also we're gonna have another series starting up on Tuesday. So we're not gonna have one or two event. Well, actually, we're gonna have two series right now, but once the core series starts up, we're gonna have a triple header again on Tuesday nights. But that is going to do it for myself and Mark here in the booth at Virginia International Raceway. We'll see you at the track.
Take care, people.